Hello, YouTube. Turn off so y'all can hear me. How you doing? Where you at? Today is July 30th, 2023. That fast. Woo! So on Instagram, I saw they said since Jayz's, those of y'all that's not from New York City, I think I mentioned it before. I'm from New York City, Brooklyn. Whoop-de-whoop. Jay-Z, Beyonce, and their daughter Ivy, I think it was last week and a half ago, they came to Brooklyn Public Library. Grand Central is the Central Library, my favorite library. My mom took me there. She taught me how to read in that library. I took my son there. That's like our stomping grounds. You know, I love that library. They had a private event, like employees wasn't even invited, and Jay-Z was there. And luckily, I was hoping and praying, and I'm happy they did it. The exhibit that they had, they left it, so it's very beautiful. I'm gonna put some pictures up so y'all can see this amazing artist. And I was like, yo, I was so impressed. Like, they had his awards. I'm pretty sure they're replicas, but like his Grammy Awards, his BET Awards, like his just everything he's done, old magazines, they had it all. And as soon as you walk in, it's like pictures of him all over the place. It shows the replica of Marcy Projects, the sign up, whole sign. As soon as you walk in, it's like black hands with the symbol. It's just really dope for me because that particular area is predominantly white, still white. And so to have him celebrated there is a big stepping stone. It's huge. So it's like, that's something huge for them to celebrate. Our culture is a very big thing. I was just thinking out loud to myself as I was walking around, and I was like, they should have a hip hop museum. Jay-Z's not the only one that accomplished things. And someone said that they're gonna have one in the Bronx. So I'm gonna definitely research that, because that is dope. That's what's up. Because they have crime museums, they have science museums, they got the Jackie Robinson Museum, they got all different types of museums. But they, you know, hip hop should be one of them. It's a culture. It's been a culture for 50 years, so why not, right? Might as well. Hip hop has been a meal ticket for many people, for many people. It's been something to get out the ghetto and something to look forward to. And there actually was a book to sign when you walk in. On the left side, there's actually a book to sign, and I signed it. I said, Hove, you give us all hope to get out the ghetto and the projects, you know, because he literally came from the P's to a billionaire, and that's something to brag about. That's something to look up to. That's just, it shows that if it's meant for you, you'll get it, you know. And yeah, he's not just a rapper. He says he's a businessman. He's like, I'm a businessman. He's like, I'm not a businessman, I'm a businessman. Like, you know, so he's a whole entity within himself. Along with that, another positive note, it's encouraged. They said how because of the exhibit, more people have signed up for library cards. So I just wanted to share that briefly. A lot of people have kids and their kids don't have library cards. I'm like, what is wrong with y'all? What is wrong with y'all? My son had a library card at like 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. Yeah, he's always had a library card. You know, I've always encouraged it. I had a library card when I was a kid. I was always in a library reading books. You know, that's one thing about my parents, and I handed it down to my son, because reading will give you knowledge that others will not give you. Okay, reading on your own will give you knowledge that school won't give you. people won't give to you just because they don't have to. There's so many people my age and older that don't know basic stuff because they don't read. I think I had said this in a previous video, like I don't get along with people who don't read. Like if you don't read, it comes out in your conversation. It comes out in, the things that you say. A lot of people are ignorant about a lot of things because they're not open-minded. When you read, is a person that's open-minded, right? You have people that say a lot of, I wouldn't even say ignorant because I feel like there's truth in every ignorant statement. But you have people that say things that they have no knowledge of because they refuse to read. Like you have people that believe certain things about AIDS till this day. You have people that believe certain things about just basic things because they don't read. And people who don't read, they're often closed-minded and they don't want to hear it type shit. Can't be like that. And I always teach my son, you can't be like that in the world. There's more to things in the world than from your perspective, right? So I always stress that. But one thing I did want to talk about to y'all is in reading and receiving information, be careful on what you read. I just wanted to show y'all something. So I don't know if you millennials out there remember, but when we were in school, we had something called Scholastic, and it was basically like a thin magazine, 2 or 3 pages of books that were available, from Goosebumps to Babysitter's Club to a lot of different books that were out there. And over the years, I used to something called Princess Diaries, and it was very educational. It talked about Cleopatra, Anastasia, different princesses in history that I read about. I didn't always read all the books, but I do remember certain facts about Cleopatra. And so my son said that he never heard of Cleopatra. I'm like, what the fuck? Like my son is going to 10th grade and he said he never heard of Cleopatra. I'm like, that's a shame. So we asked the librarian and he directs us to this book. Now this book is obviously, she's the wrong color. Common sense, Cleopatra was an African woman from Egypt. But I was like, Cleopatra A Life by Stacy Skiff, winner of Pulitzer Prize. I read 1 page of this, y'all. First of all, I wanted to let y'all know, and this is not to bash anybody, whatever, but anytime when you know that a figure in history is black and you see the front cover, you already know it's going to be some bullshit, right? I read 1 page of this and it's incorrect facts. They talk about some Cleopatra was related to the Greeks, all of this stuff. So basically what I wanted to say is, even when you're reading, always be skeptical. Always do research on top of your reading, because you have authors like this that's just lying, And the crazy thing about this book is, I'm pretty sure that this person is educated. I'm sure this person has maybe a couple of degrees. So that's what makes it the book even more disturbing, if you will, because the facts in this are incorrect, very incorrect. I don't know how or why, it's just crazy to me. It's just unfortunate and it's crazy. Like, why would you put that she's, no. She was African woman, Egyptian. The fact that they would have this picture already tells you it's incorrect, So I just wanted to spread that knowledge that when you're researching, when you're in the library, and unfortunately Grand Army Plaza is predominantly geared to Europeans. They don't really have a lot of, they just now recently have Sister Soldier's book, which is an urban book, but they don't really have books on Black history in that library. They don't really have things geared, and I didn't really notice it until now, I've been going to that library forever. And I never realized how biased and racist that a library could be. It's just really disturbing that you have this big, beautiful library, and it's just, I'm happy about the whole Jayz thing because our culture needs to be celebrated. And hopefully people like Jayz can make some changes in the literature in the libraries. So that's my wish and that's my prayer, that the culture, our culture, if you want to write a book about something, make sure it's accurate. Don't be capping. Don't be lying. It's 2023. There's no reason why you should have a white woman on the cover of, and you talking about Cleopatra with a pearl necklace on. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, it's crazy, and you have people that will read this book and believe it. And I know better, or the whole line of Cleopatras were African women. African. Egypt is in Africa. You can't tell me that someone born and raised in Africa and their lineage is African, that they're going to come out white. It's not going to work like that. She was an African woman from Egypt, a woman of color. She was not Greek. So you got to be careful of the literature that you read. Secondly, I wanted to talk about another book that I got, The Queen. Now, this is a white woman. My son didn't know about the Queen Elizabeth. He didn't know she passed away. I'm like, what this? And yes, that is a European woman, the Queen Elizabeth, but it's good to stay abreast on current events, right? Princess Diana, she passed away in 97. We all know she was murdered by paparazzi. So that's all a part of current events. And the reason why it's important to talk about both to my child and children is the whole kings and queens stuff. That came from Africa, people. Okay? The Europeans didn't just say, I'm kings and queens. No, that came from Africa. And they pretty much they pretty much repeated what they saw in Africa. And so they have kings and queens and married their cousins and whatever else. That all comes from Africa. That's not something that they made up. But it's important to do your research and what you need to do, and this way you can know. Okay. But what I wanted to talk about today is, so one thing I saw on Instagram, Morris Chestnut, I don't know if he said it, but they had his picture and they put it underneath it, and what they said was, do women appreciate flowers and dates and nice things? And the comments, I didn't write a comment, but the comments that I saw were, a lot of women was like, where are the men that do this? Men do it, ladies, but they do it for their dream girl. They do it for the woman that they actually want to be with. A lot of men, and I'm only 34, but from my little experience, when they actually want you, they're gonna do what they need to do to keep you interested and to get your attention. And it's very simple. A lot of the times we as women, we want to call these men, they got daddy issues, mommy issues, they're fuck boys. No, they're none of that. He just doesn't like you. And it's okay. That's not a reflection of you. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. But men know what they need to do to impress a girl. It's not rocket science. YouTube stories, there's like too many worst date ever stories. It's like way too many of that on YouTube right now. And it's a little shocking because it just shows you it's not all about looks. Like, all the girls are really, really pretty. All of us could be pretty, but if that man don't want you, he gonna treat you as such, right? So, little things like it's Valentine's Day, he don't give you nothing. He's not interested. You don't have to tell him, hey, I want this, I want that. He's gonna do it automatically because it's in his heart to do it, right? That's kind of common sense. Or something as simple as a date. There's a girl on YouTube right now, and I think I mentioned it to y'all, and she's 25. She said last year she never been on a date. So I don't know if she's been on a date and just didn't put it on the YouTube. I don't know, but that's a perfect example of she wears a whole lot of makeup, she wear wigs and all that, but obviously they're not attracted to her enough to take her out in public. Dates are automatic. That's a natural thing. As far back as I remember, there were two girls. It was the one girl, she went to my church, and her sister, and then she had a friend. I told them to their face, I'm like, y'all are the weirdest people I've ever met. They were like how they had boyfriends, but they never went on a date. I said, so how is that y'all boyfriends? What are y'all talking? I'm like, and mind you, I was only a year older than them, but I'm like, that's common sense. If a guy is feeling you, he gonna ask you out on a date. Even, it don't gotta be nothing fancy, Back in high school days, the hangout spot was what? Dave and Buster's, Applebee's, the movies, to something. He gonna spend some type of bread on you. Now, it's not to say that, oh, if a man spends bread on you, he loves you. No, but it does show some type of interest. A guy that's truly interested in you, he's not gonna just bed you down. Now, if that's all you want in return, that's a little bit different. But you can't be claiming people and saying that they your man, but you ain't never been nowhere in public with them. That just doesn't make sense. And, I remember, even though it was 6 years ago, that same girl that was her friend, she was a weirdo or whatever. But, she was still talking like she was a teenager. Oh yeah, this one dated, or we was talking about her, and she was like, oh, she dated this boy, da da da. I'm like, outside of sex, what did they do? That's not dating, that's having sex. My parents didn't have to teach me that. That's just common sense. Obviously, so yeah, ladies, they're out there, but they're not treating you that way because they don't feel that way, and too many of us, we want to categorize men ain't this and men ain't that. No, it's not that. It's just you haven't met the right man for you. Now, in some cases, it could be you. One thing about me, I've had my experiences with guys that weren't so nice, and I've had my experiences with nice guys. I'm very well rounded. And one thing I can truly say is the ones who had a real interest in me, they made the effort. There was no question about it. There wasn't no begging about it. They knew what they wanted to do to impress me and to keep me interested, and they did it. It's that simple. And those are my thoughts.